Hi guys, how you doing? Just a very quick video here. I want to show you how to process some of my files in Lightroom. Uh, Most of the time I don't like to spend too much time processing them. Nobody does, so you should really be able to get it done and dusted in about 3 to 5 minutes. There is some files I will spend a little bit longer on them, depending on how much I like them and how much I want to do with them. This is a shot I took down at Duloc on one of the workshops I was on. As you can see, it's quite dark and all that, and this is the way I like to capture them on my D800. I like to capture them dark to get all that grunginess, that contrast, and I like to pick up that heavy cloud up there. But I know because it's a raw file that I can pull loads of detail out of it, and I did in fact, and this is the image that I ended up with. As you can see, it's a lot brighter and it highlights the trees a lot more, and there's a little bit more detail going on in the hillside up here, and it picked up tiny little bits of color. But we're going to jump back to the original raw file, and we're just going to do a really quick edit and show you how I done this. The first thing I'm going to do is just brighten up the whole lot a little bit, just with the exposure slider, just a little bit. I don't want to overdo that too much, but my preferred method is to come down to the white slider down here, and while holding down Alt on the keyboard, on my Mac keyboard, I'm assuming it's the same on a PC, I will move that up until I see the white showing up. That's the overexposed part, and then I'll just quickly move it back down until that disappears. Holding down Alt again, I'll grab the black slider and I'll move that down until I see the shadows filling in like that, and I'll move it up until there's just a few of the shadows filling in, just like that. Like that there. I don't mind a little bit of darkness in the shadows and all that. And straight away that has improved my file. I can do press backslash on the keyboard and I'll jump back to the original, and that's with the three little edits I've done: exposure, white and black slider. I'm going to jump down here straight away into the color slider, I think maybe, and I'm going to start moving, maybe trying to draw a little bit more color out. So I'm going to pop into the oranges, and yeah, I can want to bring a little bit more brightness up into, see the foreground rocks there. Just pop a little bit of color into there. I'm gonna just try the yellow slider. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. A little bit more yellow there. And I know that there's greens on the rocks down here and up here on the hillside and the trees, and I'll see if I can just draw a little bit of that out. And certainly see it coming up in the foreground and in the hills there. It mightn't be as easy to see on this YouTube video, but I can assure you that it is having a difference there. And again, everything you want to do, everything just very subtly. Don't make too many big moves. I'm going to pop down here to the sharpness. It is shot at 1/100th of a second. This is handheld at f8, which I know is the sweet spot of my thing. I'm going to sharpen up the whole image just a little bit. And again, this all depends. These settings will depend on the lens you're doing. I'm shooting with a 24 to 70 Nikon f2.8. So I know I can bring this up to around 60, 70%, and the same in the detail slider up to around 45 to 50%. And I'll hit the masking slider, and while holding on Alt again, I'll slide that up to there, and I know that it's sharpening just the areas that are white only, and it is not sharpening the areas of black, because after all, we only want the edges sharpened. We don't want this white, soft, fluffy cloud sharpened. I'm going to jump down here. I'll try removing, I'll hit that remove chromatic aberration, which may remove any color fringing. There's not a lot of it. I can see a little bit of green going on there. I'm going to remove chromatic aberration. I can see that, yes indeed, on my screen it has removed any of it there. I'm going to pop back to the full screen, and I'm going to enable profile corrections, which normally corrects maybe a bit of vignetting around the edge and a bit of distortion around the edges. I don't always use it, but in this case I'm going to use it. It also brightens up the image a little bit. I'm going to go back here now, and because I like my skies, very dramatic, I'm going to pull down a grad there. Tip O on the keyboard will show us where the effects are going to happen. I'm going to grab the brush and the erase, and I'm going to erase the effects. Use the square brackets to make your brush bigger or smaller. But I'm going to use the brush to rub the effect off those hillsides, because whatever effect I have in the sky, I certainly don't want it happening on my hillsides. I'm just going to drop the flow of it there a little bit and just brush over the tops of the trees, because I don't really want the effect there either. I'm going to knock off that mask, show the mask again by hitting O, and I'm going to proceed to make changes. The highlights is the first slider I normally go at. You can bring a more dramatic look in by dropping the highlights, and that's generally what I tend to do. I might lift the whites in with the white slider. Just again, very subtly or not so subtly, depending on your preference. And then maybe drop the blacks. Again, I don't like to do anything too much. I'm just going to click done, and I often do this. I often add a second grad in. Maybe not bring it down as far, just to close down the top of that image a little bit more. So again, just play with the highlight slider and maybe the black slider. I'll see what the whites make a difference. I don't know. I don't want to brighten it up too much there. So bring it back and just sort of close down the top of the image and stop the eye from running off there. And that's not bad. I'm going to click done. Now, I prefer to bring a little bit more detail out in this here. There is some there already, but I want to bring a little bit. So I'm just going to use the shadow slider to lift that up a little bit. And I can see, yeah, see there, it's popping a little bit more into it. And it also has an effect on the shadows down here, but that's okay. I don't mind that. So yeah, I'm going to lift those shadows in there, right? And that's not bad. I'm going to just grab a quick brush from up here. Again, use the square brackets to change the size of it. I'm going to make it nice and small. I'm just going to press O to show where your effect is. Change the size of the brush. I don't want the effect to be all over it. And knock off O again. And you can see by moving, I'm going to bring the highlights up a bit. Just to maybe lift the highlights on the edge of that greenery there. Probably bring the whites up a little bit. Oh, that's good. We'll try exposure. You want to be careful with the exposure slider because it tends to lift everything, the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. Sometimes the clarity slider can just add a little bit of bite into an image. I'm just gonna, and you know, just push on that effect. Be careful. I don't want to overdo it. And you know, for that, I'm generally kind of happy with that. I see the white balance here. It's S shot and it's at 5,700 Kelvin, and I'm just going to try auto to see if that makes a difference. And you can see it does warm it up a little bit. It moves it up to 6,250 Kelvin. I'm going to pop it back to the original. I kind of like the dreary blueness of it, although that's not bad either. Like, this is where you're getting into personal preference. I might just move it by hand up here. Just going to brighten up and visually look at that. I'm also going to pull another grad up here, and press O will show me where the effect is going to happen, and use the eraser brush to brush out where I don't want to have an effect on. And I only want this effect to be at the bottom half of the images on these rocks here. So I want to add a little bit more depth into there, so I'm just going to drop the shadows a little bit more. And there we go. I think that's kind of it now. I'm going to click done there. I'm just going to grab one more brush, make it bigger with the square brackets, and I'm going to rub it along here and dab it here. And I'm just going to see what effect adding a little bit more to the highlights there will have. And it's just drawing the eye in just a little bit more there, because I want that to act as maybe a leading line. I'll grab another new brush and very small effect just over there. Just want to brighten up that just ever so slightly. I want the eye to be drawn up here and into those. I'm going to probably spend longer than my 3 minutes now. It's probably about 5 minutes. I'm going to put a radial filter there. Make it nice and big, tilt it, bring it over here, invert it, and maybe increase the highlights to make those trees just stand out just a little bit more. If I check my highlight warning thing, I can see that I am I'm well blown out here. But again, I'll just grab an eraser brush again and just erase the radial filter effect off that area there. And it's not erasing it fully, so that means I will have to drop my highlights just a little. Right, is it? Can't quite get rid of that, but I'm going to get rid of it with, click done there, and get rid of it hopefully with a brush. and just brush away some of that. And for me, that little bit of highlight there shown there, that's more than acceptable. I think we have, you know, arrived at somewhere towards the end of the image. You know, this is a very quick edit, and I would probably play a little bit more with the colors down here, just to pop a little bit more color into it. But look at, that's good. This is good to go with. This is my 3 or 5 minute edit on that file, and this is the file that I probably spent 10 minutes on. You know, it's a little bit brighter. There's a little bit more bite to it. They're both very valid. They're both quite nice images. It's as I said, down to personal preference. You could maybe improve this by putting a bit of a tone curve on it. So I'm just going to bring that up to point 13 actually, and drop the shadows a bit. I'm not going to drop them at all, and I'm just going to bring the brightness up to 0.9, and it just adds a bit more bite, and that is the image finished. So just a quick edit in Lightroom, just to show that I don't spend hours working on my images, that it can all be done with a little bit of practice within 5 minutes, you know. And if the original image, if your original vision and your composition and your technical part of the image is good, well then it should take no longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Look, thanks for watching. If you like my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel below, and hopefully I'll get a bit more regular, getting some more quick tutorials up here. Thanks for watching. See you. Have a good day. See you now.